Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing some Rikka test hands. I'm really falling in love with this deck recently because it's a really amazing deck that's underrated in my opinion compared to the two other decks that are in the Secret Slayers pack, where you have the Adamanticators and Eldritch in the same pack. And living up to those kind of standards with two tier 1 decks is kind of hard, but this deck is really good at controlling the board and has some of the most beautiful artwork in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's a plant-based archetype, so you have a lot of different plant monsters that really support this, like Lone Fire Blossom and the Rose archetype as well. So, without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, because we have some awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, or even getting requested deck profile just like this one, along with test hands every single month that you are a patron. So, without further ado guys, let's get straight on into this. So, this is a really awesome deck that I've actually teched out quite a lot, and I've really fallen in love with this deck because it's such a fun, awesome deck. And what do you guys think about this new mat that we have to be able to use for the test hands? I'm really excited. I love this game. I love Nier. It's an awesome game for obvious reasons. And it's just a really cool game. I figure you guys were getting tired of seeing Goblin Slayer every single time we were doing this. But hey, whatever. So, this is a really fun deck that we're going to be playing around with today. It's basically plant, make Teardrop Turbo, because Teardrop is literally the best card in the extra deck. It doesn't look like on paper that it's that good, but when you actually play around with the card, it's insanely good because it makes your opponent tribute a monster. It doesn't send to the graveyard, it doesn't destroy, it doesn't banish, it just makes them tribute it. So there's not a lot of effects in the game that can actually play around Teardrop to make it, like, the only thing that really works is Mask of Restrict against this deck, because then you can't tribute monsters. Or when you play around with, I believe Zombie World makes it so you can't use this deck too, because Zombie World says, hey, you can't tribute summon, but I don't know if it works. I don't know the exact ruling with that one, but I have to look that one up later. But this is a really cool deck. So let's go ahead and do some test hands with this deck and see what we can pull off. It's a really awesome deck. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a Solemn Judgment. It's a little bit more control based, as you probably notice. We're getting Judgments right off the bat. Lone Fire, we're totally fine, and Flurries is pretty good, and then a copy of Snowdrop. So this is a pretty good hand, actually, for this deck, because you can do something very simple, like go ahead and normal summon out that copy of Lone Fire, and it doesn't super matter if your opponent blocks it, because you have Double Judgment to kind of weed around those cards, if you will. So we're going to go ahead and tribute off our copy of Lone Fire, and we're going to special summon out what I always special summon out, and that is a copy of Petals, or Petal. What this card does is during your main phase, you can take a Rikka card, accept another copy of Petals, and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. And also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except plants. So you have to keep in mind that that's something really, that's kind of the only drawback to the deck, is that you can only summon plants sometimes. It's not that big of a drawback, but it does come into play where you can only just go into plants, which is, it kind of sucks, but it's alright at the same time. So, what I would probably get right off the bat is I would probably go in and grab one of my monsters, like a Mudam, because you can tribute a plant monster, special summon this card in your hand, this card's a normal or special summon, then you get to add a Rikka spell or trap directly from your deck to your hand, because it's going to thin your deck just a little bit, and you have the ability with your copy of Snowdrop that you can get Snowdrop out on the field too, so you're essentially going to have a set 4 Snowdrop or Teardrop pass, which is going to be pretty good. So let's go ahead and set this right here. And then you can activate your effect of your copy of Snowdrop, which is you tribute a plant monster, special summon this card from your hand, and another plant monster, and also you can't special summon for the rest of the turn. And then you can also target a plant monster and change its level. So I'm going to go ahead and tribute my copy of Petal, because Petal is going to come back, special summon my copy of Snowdrop, and special summon my copy of Mudam. Mudam will trigger because I get to search the deck for another copy, and then you can search something like a copy of Rikka Sheets, Glamour, you can search Tranquility to bring back your monsters from the graveyard, but I would probably bring out Sheets, because Sheets is going to let me use the most amount of abilities, because it lets you target a monster your opponent controls, and then it has the ability that players cannot activate face-up monster effects on the field this turn, and then if you tributed a monster to activate this effect, you can take control of that opponent's monster as well. So it kind of locks down your opponent for their turn, which is really good. So, at this point, I would use the effect of my Snowdrop to copy the level, or use to target this to be able to make it a level 8, overlay both of these, and then make a copy of Teardrop, and then set my 4 and pass. And essentially, I have a copy, or set my 3 and pass. I have the copy of Rikka. If a Rikka monster is tributed, except during the damage step, you can make your opponent tribute a monster as well. So if I tribute off of this effect, off the effect of my Rikka sheets, which I don't know where I set it, if you tribute off your copy of Rikka sheets off of this, it makes your opponent tribute another monster as well. So you can negate a monster and then take control of a monster as well. You have the 2 copies of Solemn Judgment that can really control the board. And then you have this that's going to go essentially up to 3,000 if you don't tribute it by detaching a material, because she has the ability to detach a material, then target a monster on the field, tribute it. She does target, so you can, like, stuff that can't be targeted, that's the only downside to Teardrop. But cards that, aren't affected by other card effects, you can't target them. But that's the only downside to this entire card. And she also has the ability that each time a monster is tributed, she gains 200 attack. Should she go right at 3,000 attack, which would be pretty good. And you have 2 disruptions here. You have a tribute here, you have a tribute here, and you have your copy of Rikka Sheets that's also going to get you more control. So this is a really powerful deck that I really feel like people are underestimating. And the other thing is your copy of Petals is insane, because it also has the ability that during your opponent's end phase, when this card's in your graveyard, if you control no monsters, or all monsters you control are plant, you can special summon this card, but you can only use your effect once per turn. So during my opponent's end phase, I just put Petals back on the field, and then I just immediately get to search the deck again next turn, because she has the ability that during the main phase, you can take a Rikka from your deck, except another Petals, and add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. But you cannot special summon except for plants. So I get to search every single turn with Petals. Petals is insanely good, and it's actually a big reason that I picked up and wanted to play around with this deck is because of Petals and the artwork. The artwork is like, the entire deck is like nothing but snow waifus, and I thought it was really cool because of that. And it's snow control waifus, which is what's really cool about this deck. I really like it as well because you have cards in the extra deck like the new Txne, the new XYZ monster that we got, the Queen, the pink-haired Queen. She's really good from Rise of the Duelist. She is really, really good. She lets you go directly into a copy of your Teardrop, which is really insane. So let's go ahead and play out another test hand. So we're going to go ahead and cut the deck really quick and see what we can get. So we're going to go ahead and draw into an Evil Thorn, which is really good. Judgment, Mudan, Tranquility, and a copy of Snowdrop. So this is really good as well, because you have a lot of different plays here that you can go for. Because I can normal summon out my copy of Evil Thorn, and then I can use the Evil Thorn because I can tribute plant monsters to summon out the Mudan, and I can tribute out a plant monster to special summon out the Snowdrop as well, which is going to help me out quite a lot. And you can even go for Aromatherapy Jasmine in this play. So I'm going to go ahead and tribute out my copy of Evil Thorn. Evil Thorn, his effect is going to trigger and is going to special summon 2 more Evil Thorns. Now keep in mind, it does reduce your opponent's life points by 300, which kind of comes in really pivotal with your copy of Jasmine. That's really, really, really important. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle the deck up. We are going to be going back in, and I'm going to go ahead and link these 2 together and go for a copy of Jasmine. Now Jasmine has the ability that if your life points are higher than your opponent's, and any plant monsters this card points to cannot be destroyed by battle, you can tribute a monster this card points to special summon a plant monster from your deck, and then once per turn, if you gain life points, you get to add a plant monster. So you can either link into Jasmine, set your copy of Tranquility and your Judgment, or you can go a little bit of a different route. Instead of linking into this, you can go ahead and put both of these on the field, and then you can tribute one of them to special summon out your Snowdrop, and then Snowdrop will special summon out your copy of Mudan, and then you can use the effect of Mudan to search the deck for a Rikka spell or trap, which can be your Flurries, or it can be a copy of Glamour if you want to search your Glamour, which will activate and add a plant monster and a Rikka, a plant monster, add a Rikka monster from your deck to your hand. Then if you tribute in a monster, you get to add a plant monster with the same original level as the Rikka, which is pretty good as well. Because so you have plenty of plays that you can add from your deck to your hand. The Rikkas, usually you're not going to tribute all that much, because usually what I'll add is Evil Thorn and Petals off of this, but you have plenty of Rikka monsters that you can add off your copy of Glamour. Or you can add your copy of Flurries and get you another play, or Sheets, which is what I usually add off of this to be able to get me an additional play where I can just lock my opponent down, especially with Tranquility and Judgment in back row. You can do something really simple like add your copy of Rikka Sheets. I play very defensively when I play this deck, I've noticed, and it's not a bad thing to be able to just play very, very, very defensively, to be able to just deal with your opponent's stuff. Now, the other thing that I would show to you guys is this, is you can actually, if you want to link into your copy of Jasmine at this point, you can link into Jasmine because if your life points are higher than your opponent, because they're going to lose 300 off of the copy of Evil Thorn, you can go into Jasmine, and then you can tribute a monster this card points to, and then special I'm going to play a monster in your deck in defense, which is what I would probably do in this particular scenario to tribute to put my 2 Rikka Fairies in the graveyard, because I have Tranquility in hand that's going to bring them back. We can tribute our copy of Snowdrop, and then you can use your copy of Jasmine, and Jasmine's effect is that if this card is, you can tribute a plant monster, which I tributed Snowdrop, to be able to special summon a plant from the deck, which is going to be your copy of Petals, because you want to get to Petals as quickly as possible. I'm probably going to immediately summon Petals. The only other monster that I would even consider summoning in this scenario is maybe a copy of Lonefire. I would consider summoning Lonefire just to thin the deck a little bit, but I'd probably just go for a copy of Petals and then use Petals' effect to be able to search the deck for another card that I might need, another Rikka card that would help me out, like a copy of Snowdrop. You could add Snowdrop, you could add Pramila, you could add your copy of, actually, I'll tell you what you can do. Instead of adding this off your copy of Mudan, add your copy of Glamour, and then add your copy of Pramila. Add your copy of Pramila right here, and then we have a really cool play. Because what you can do is you can, if a monster's tributed, you can special summon her from your hand. So you can activate the copy of Glamour, tribute your copy of Petal, and then add from deck to hand. She'll chain to this, special summon herself, and then you get to search the deck for a copy of your monster, which would be really, really helpful to be able to search. Or you can just leave it like this, leave your Petal on the field, and you can use your copy of Glamour to search another monster, which can be your copy of your Snowdrop, which you can't use her effect again, because you can only use her effect, you can only use each effect of her once per turn, but you can set up for another play. So you feasibly, with this particular field, have a Reborn and a Negate on your side of the field, and you have a play for next turn to go into a copy of Snowdrop. So not bad at all. Let's go ahead and go into another play and see what we can actually do with another hand. This deck is really consistent, as you can see. Like, there's no struggling with this deck. You have insane amounts of consistency in this deck. The only thing I would consider playing in here that I've really thought about is maybe playing a single copy of Copy Plant, because it's a level 1 monster that I can search alongside the Petal with Glamour, besides my copy of Evil Thorn, because Evil Thorn it's a good card, don't get me wrong, but I really, really want to have another level 1 tuner in the deck, so I might drop a copy of Rose Lover, or Rose Girl, for a copy of Copy Plant, so I can make more synchro plays, which would be really cool, or link plays. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can get out of this. So, we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of 1-for-1, so we immediately have Petals, Glamour, Mudan, Solemn Strike, and a copy of Sheets. This is a really good hand. So, we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and activate the copy of 1-for-1 and get rid of the copy of Mudan out of my hand, because that's the only valid target you have in your hand, and I'm going to grab out of the deck a copy of Petals. Now, Petals is going to special summon to your side of the field, which is going to let you search the deck for a copy of a Rikka monster, or Rikka card. Now, in this scenario, I probably wouldn't grab my copy of Snowdrop. I probably wouldn't grab Snowdrop because you don't have another target in your hand to actually summon. You could do a really, really, really defensive play and go ahead and grab your copy of Mudan back, because you can tribute off your copy of your Petal and then summon Mudan, send this to the graveyard, and then search the deck for a copy of Tranquility, because then you have a revival card that's going to get 2 of your Rikkas back from the graveyard during your opponent's end phase, which is going to be super helpful. And then you can set these 3 right here and pass just with that. Now, you have the Glamour if you want to push a little bit further, but then that's going to leave you with no monster on the field, which is going to kind of suck. So at this point, you have a wall. You've walled up against your opponent, because you can make it so they can't activate the effects, and you can take control of their monster, or you can leave her on the field, judgment your opponent. If you want to judgment your opponent right here, or strike your opponent, you have the Tranquility as well that makes it so you contribute your Rikka monster during your end phase. Or what I would probably do is the chain link that I would resolve is I'd activate the Sheets and tribute her, then judgment my opponent on a summon, and then during the end phase, your copy of Petal is going to come back, tribute the Petal off, summon out the copy, or during my turn, I would tribute, or I'd add a card off the copy of Petal, and then tribute the Petal off, summon back both my copies of Mudan, and then I have a rank 6 play with just these two monsters on the field, or I can revive my copy of Petal back instead of one of the Mudans, and then you get a search as well of a Snowdrop, tribute a monster out of your deck, which you're going to draw into a copy of Snowdrop. So if I didn't search the Snowdrop, I'd draw into a copy of maybe a Pramila, and then go off from there, because you could really start making some insane plays where you're making multiple teardrops, making multiple XZ plays, and getting some insane plays rolling off with this deck. I mean, it's kind of, one of those decks that kind of snowballs, go figure, because it's, you know, Rikka. But it works, and it's really insane the amount of snowball effect that this deck actually pulls off, because you have so many plays that just stack on top of one another. So let's go ahead and do one more test hand. We're going to draw into a Lone Fire. We're already fine. Desires, a copy of Erica, Glamour, and a copy of Evil Thorn. Okay, this is a really good hand, okay, because you have a search that you can bait your opponent with an Ash. You have the copy of Evil Thorn that you can get 2 monsters out on the field to link. You have the Petal in hand, and you have 1,000 attack point boost, and you have a search. So you have a lot of different plays in your hand just with these cards. So if we did go ahead and resolve that copy of Desires, that's probably what I would go for first, because I don't mind if my opponent in this particular deck interrupts my Desires. And the only reason I play Desires in this deck, I'm not a big fan of Desires, okay? But the only reason I play Desires in this deck is because there's not a particular card that if I hit, I'm over with it. Like, it's just totally over. Like, I'm going to show you guys what we hit. We're going to hit a copy of Strike, big deal. Okay, Evil Thorn, that turns my Evil Thorn off. That's fine. Petal, that's fine. Foolish, that's fine. Pramila, fine. Petal, fine. Mudan, fine. Pramila, fine. Petal, that's not great. Hitting the 3 petals is why I don't like playing Desires in this particular deck, or playing Desires at all, is because you run into aspects where you hit certain cards and it sucks. But don't get me wrong, in decks like this, you sometimes need Desires. So let's go ahead and just not resolve Desires, because that would suck. Let's go ahead and normal summon out our copy of Lone Fire. You can bait your opponent with the Desires, but I was just showing you guys what you could hit. Go ahead and tribute out for your copy of Lone Fire Blossom. Special summon out your Petal. Use Petal effect. Search from the deck your copy of your Snowdrop. You could even resolve the copy of Desires last if you want to resolve Desires last to get you more control aspects. Use the copy of your Petal on your side of the field to tribute. Special summon out your copy of Erica. Erica effect will trigger. Actually, excuse me. Does this special summon just Rikka's? One of the plant monster hand. Excuse me. Don't summon that. Summon out your copy of Evil Thorn. Tribute the Evil Thorn from your side of the field. Special summon out your copy of the other Evil Thorns from your deck. And then now Desires doesn't really matter because you have everything out of your deck. That was what I was trying to get around to. The point that I was trying to get around to is if you summon your copies of your monsters to your side of the field first, sometimes you can bait the Ash with the copy of Desires, but sometimes you run into scenarios, what I just showed you, where you turn off the Evil Thorn, you hit all 3 petals, and it just ends the game because of that. Now, with this particular field, you've got higher life points than your opponent because of the copy of Evil Thorn. So at this point, you could resolve the Desires because there's not a whole lot at this point that you're going to search. So you could resolve Desires at this point and mill the top off your deck like this. And this is what you're going to hit now. So, Desires you got to think about. Sheets, Glamour, Mudan, Lone Fire, Rose Girl, Judgment, Flurries, Glamour. I don't care. None of that is a big deal. Because I was never going to get any of those cards anyways. So, now I get to draw 2. So I get my 2, I get Tranquility, and 1 for 1. Okay, this is pretty good. Because I can use the copy of 1 for 1, and the copy of Erica in my hand, and then I can special summon from the deck a copy of Petal, which is going to give me more plays. So special summon that Petal to your side of the field. The Tranquility is really nice too. Go ahead and link these 2 together. You can link these 2 together right here. And go for your copy of your Jasmine. You use the Jasmine effect to tribute a monster this card points to, which I would have probably put one of your Petal into one of these zones if you knew it was coming. If you could, so you could tribute it. Or you could just go ahead and overlay both of these together, or you could even tribute your copy of your Snowdrop, if you want to go into a level 4 monster, you go into the Snowdrop. Or you could just copy this, overlay both of these, go for a copy of Teardrop, set this, pass. It's not very strong because you don't have a tribute on your side of the field. You go for plays like this. Or you could leave this off the field and then keep digging into the deck to be able to go deeper in. The only unfortunate thing is that the pedal is not in a zone where you contribute it. That's the only downside. But you do get a search off the pedal, which we haven't searched off the pedal yet. So if you search off the pedal, I would probably go ahead and grab my Mudan, because then I can tribute the pedal and summon the Mudan somewhere else. So I'm going to tribute the copy of pedal, summon it over here, use her effect, and grab over here a copy of my Rikka Sheets. At that point, grab the copy of Rikka Sheet, and then I can tribute her over here. Tribute her over here, and then special summon out another monster from the deck, which is going to be like a copy of Pramila. And then I can copy their levels right here and make my level 4 Txne right here and make her in defense position. And then you can use her effect that says you can detach material from her, then target a plant monster, Rikka in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And this card, as was tributed, then you can special summon a level 5 or higher XYZ monster from your X deck and then attach this card as material. So you could set your copy of Sheets. You have the Tranquility set, you have the Sheet set. You could detach a material from this and then target a Rikka in your graveyard, which is the copy of Snowdrop, add it back to hand, and then pass to your opponent. And when they go, you can tribute the copy of Txne, immediately special summon her back, and go ahead and make your copy of Teardrop on top of her. And then you have a tribute right there, interruption, and you have the copy of Tranquility that you can bring back 2 of your Rikka monsters, and if you draw for turn, you're going to draw into another Tranquility, which is going to give you even more plays, and the pedal is going to come back, which you can tribute the pedal. So, that's it for the test hands, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's really, really, really fun, as you guys can see. This deck is really simplistic. When what it's trying to do, you're trying to get a bunch of negates on your side of the field to be able to stop your opponent from doing shenanigans against you, and being able to get your monsters out on your side of the field to be able to deal with your opponent's cards before they can activate and resolve, which is really cool. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy this test hand video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.